Episode 70, All the Everything Podcast. I'm Billy. That's Tim.
All day.
Tim, what is going on, man?
Hey, buddy. It's so good to be back in the studio and live. Like we're recording the episode that actually goes out tomorrow. So this is about as up to date you can get on our lives that's actually happening right now.
You better believe it.
So right now I am tired because we just came back from LA and we did a red eye back. And red eye sounds good because you get the full day to hang out and do stuff. But the time you land, you get like no sleep, and your next day is just pure garbage because you're just barely, your stomach's like, what is wrong? And where are you at? Yeah. So I've been dealing with that a little bit, a little tired, but we had an amazing time out in LA. We went out there specifically for Leslie's Christmas present to see the comedian Leanne Morgan at the Improv Club there.
Yeah.
But before that, we went to Disneyland for 4 nights. And we had so much fun at Disneyland, California Adventure. Just, we just had like a chill time about it. We weren't really hardcore. We did get some lightning lanes and things like that, but it was good food, lots of good exercise walking around, beautiful weather every single day, Billy. Thank the Lord. It was just gorgeous out every single day. It was funny. The last day that we were into the parks, I think the high there that day was, I think the real feel was like 97 or something, which is hot, but there's no humidity. And there was like hardly any people locals there because they're like, it's too hot. I can't do it. Yeah, it was just fun. I'm like, this is nothing. You do 99 in Walt Disney World, you'd be dying. Anyhow, but so it was good. We had a great time, just a lot of great rides, good time together. And then we went to Irvine, which is about 30 minutes away from Disneyland, where we were set up for the next 3 or 4 nights. It doesn't matter. We were set up there, and it was kind of our hub where we would go. We went and saw Leanne Morgan at the Improv. It was really good. I've never seen her comedy or anything, and it was really, really funny. So I think Leslie was excited to know that. I'm like, all right. And now she's like, let's watch all the Netflix specials and watch her show. I'm like, all right, listen, pump the brakes, Leslie. No, I'm just joking. So, no, but it makes me want to watch the other things with her now that I know kind of a little bit about her and her style and stuff.
Yeah.
But we also ventured out because what we did is we got a rental car this time. And they're like, hey, for $10 a day, you want something fun? And I was like, all right, what are you going to do? Like, come massage me for 2 days? Like, what kind of fun are we talking about? And he was like, no, we can get you in like a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. It has top comes off and stuff. And I was like, I don't know. He's like, I'm telling you, it's nice. I'm so glad we got it. It was amazing because the 2 days we had, like after everything, is one day we went to Laguna Beach and we hung out there for most of the day and walked the boardwalks and just checked out the beautiful views and had food. And then the next day, the day that we had the red eye that night, we went to Santa Monica Pier, which is like, one of the most famous piers there in California. To check all the fun things they had there. And it was a blast. We got a lot of exercise walking around by the beach again. It was just beautiful. And so if anyone ever sells you for $10 a day extra, you want a little fun, be clear what they're saying, first of all. But then if they offer you the Jeep, go for it, because we had the Jeep down, the top off every single time we were driving to the beach and stuff. And it was great.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim kept sending me pictures from Disneyland. I was like, man, I know I was just there. I mean, I was literally just there as well, but I was like, man, I'm so I want to be there too. Dang it. Our weather wasn't as pretty as your weather. We were there when there was flash floods. People are texting me, are you safe? Are you okay? And I'm like, what's going on? I'm in the Disney bubble right now. What is happening? And they're like, all of LA is like flooding. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get to
Anaheim? So
yeah,
I'm all right.
No, it was fine. It was fine. But yeah, it was kind of foggy on one day. It rained maybe for 10 minutes while we were in line for Pirates. That was the rain, but it was kind of overcast, but it felt great. And we had a fantastic time. But the rain came as we were leaving. So I was like, okay, good. But it wasn't as pretty as the pictures you sent.
You stayed at
Pixar Place. Yes.
And so when you walked over past like the Disneyland Hotel, did you see the new like Chinese restaurant, the Ding Tai Fung?
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Billy, we ate there twice. Like, it's an insane reservation to get. Their food is so freaking good. Like, I'm talking like they bring out those big like brown caskets of like huge dumplings, and you get all that good stuff. Well, we It was suggested by Karina, who's one of our agents and friends.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You have to go there. Like, it's like seriously the best." And she was able to join in on a reservation, so it was nice to have her there and visit with her.
Nice.
But she kind of walked us through the menu and everything. It was so good that while I was sitting there, I made a reservation for lunch the next day, and we went back. We went back for lunch. It was good. It was killer. So if you ever get a chance to get there, they have a few in a couple other states, but nothing close by to where you or I live. But it's next level. So keep that in mind for
Man,
next time you go back to
you know it.
Disneyland.
You know it. I'm all about some Chinese.
Oh,
Come on now.
man.
Jeez.
Mm-mm.
Man, man, oh man.
And I did ride the top 3 things I talked about that I loved at California Adventure because we just went over how to do Disney, so it was kind of fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
So it was good. We had a great
And
time. We're back.
you drew a picture. You drew a picture of
Oh my
Princess Tiana.
gosh. Oh, Billy, why'd you bring that up? So
I got
Billy
that
shared
picture.
recently he went to the drawing class there and they drew and they had a good time, whatever. I am horrible at art and drawing. I just put that out there. I just am. I can't do it. And so every once in a while I will appease Leslie and I'll go with her to the drawing class, and that's usually whatever. But we sat down and they said, "This one's going to be a little bit longer because this is a master class." I was like, "Oh,
Oh gosh.
are you kidding me? This is awful. I can't do this." And then they started whipping through Princess Tiana. It all went downhill when I made the nose. She looked like a rhinoceros, and I mean, not just the nose. Everything was. It looked like somebody had melted it, and that was my picture.
Hey,
So
it made me smile. It made me smile. You tried.
smile or give me pity. Which one was it?
A little bit of both, but it's all good.
Oh man, it was awful. So yeah. So be careful what you do when your wife says, "Hey, you want to do a drawing class?" Check it out if it's a master class, first of all, or
Right.
avoid it at all costs. Fake a seizure. You
Uh,
can always scream diarrhea, and it gets you out of
Diarrhea.
everything. So
Yeah, and then
uh,
that's exactly.
we talked about that before.
Yep. That
But
that's a
yes,
trick.
the good thing is, Belly, is now we're home for like almost full 3 weeks.
Oh
Which
my gosh, I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. Like it feels good to know that we have some longevity at home and that I don't have to repack in a couple days. And
Right.
also like getting back into the groove of the diet and everything and
Yes.
exercise. And
Uh-huh.
it's a rough rider out there in that world when you get eating out all the time. It's so good.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
Mm. All right, Billy, enough about me and my problems. How about you?
Man, I'm just been staying busy. We're running around. Today's Wednesday, and so today's our busy day. Got to do dance. We usually have art. Actually, we don't have art today, so a little bit off my plate.
Okay.
They're doing a little break for spring break and stuff like that for the next couple of weeks, and so they don't start back until a few weeks from now. So that's nice.
Oh
And
yeah.
what else? Yeah. So just but dance is in full swing. So we're got both girls doing dance today. So we've been doing that. We officially booked our Paris trip for next year.
Woohoo!
And yes, yeah, that's where Chloe said she wanted to go celebrate her 10th birthday. Now we're not going on her birthday. Her birthday's like next
Right.
month, and we're going in November just because of school. And we already have a plan packed out summer, so that didn't work for that.
Yeah.
So we're going in November when they're out of school. And so with that comes I want to try to at least know a few phrases of French. I'm terrible at
Oh,
languages. I'm terrible at languages. Like I took 6 years
same.
of Spanish, and as of right now, there's nothing to show for it for Spanish. But
But
so I was like,
shame.
yeah, I was talking to Michelle, and we're like, okay, we need to get a language app, learning app, right, to just kind of
Yeah.
help us get some conversational, like the basics to kind of get through it and stuff like that. And so I was like, which one should I get? Should I get Rosetta Stone? There's so many of those out there. And she goes, you know what? I have a friend that has a master's in kind of that kind of things, and she wrote her thesis on
Hmm.
the different language apps. Is kind of what her whole study was
Oh,
about. And she's
really?
like, let me see which one I should get. And then she said for what we wanted, she recommended us to get Babbel. And
Okay.
so yeah, Michelle registered for Babbel, and she got like a lifetime membership because it was like the cheapest option, and she could do any language the lifetime. And so I was like, oh, sweet.
Oh, that's
And then
cool.
I go and it's not giving me the price that it gave her. And so I was like, well, crap. But it offered me like a 7-day trial period. And so I did the 7-day trial, for free. And so
Yeah.
like, I'm doing my bonjour and, doing all my sauvé and like all this kind of stuff. I'm trying to learn these phrases or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it expires and I lose my streak, dang it. Cause that's kind of like one of
Oh
the things, you
yeah.
get a streak. And so it expired because then I go to update it to lifetime because that's what I want too. I want what she had. Apparently she had bought it during like a president's day sale. And so she got it for cheaper. And I was like, dang it. And so I messaged the people on the support app and I'm like, hey, my wife got it for this price. I would like it for that price or whatever. And so I'm just waiting there. And then the next day, they're like, we're doing a special, half off. And so mine was like $40 cheaper than what she paid for it. And I was like, heck yes. And so, so I got it and
F
I went
off,
ahead and
son.
registered. Yeah. And so then they finally messaged me back and they're like, oh, we see you got a better price. Good for you. Awesome. Enjoy. It's like, yeah. And so
Good for you.
I'm learning la France.
All right. Well, you know what? I also need to get on that because Leslie and I
You're
are
going.
going on ABD to London, Paris for
Yep.
her 50th birthday. So, and that's in
Mhm.
June. So maybe you and I just need to have a French podcast where we go back and
Yes.
forth.
Where we just
But
talk about
you know what we'll
all the
do? We'll ask each other a phrase, and you have to try to say it in
that's to say
French.
it in La French. I don't
The
even know if it's La French. That's like feminine. I don't even know. Or but I've
Les
been
French.
watching
The
Les French.
French.
I've been watching Emily in Paris off of Netflix because we just did like a streaming episode, like our favorite thing. So I started watching Emily in Paris to get excited
Yeah.
about this trip, and I've really enjoyed watching that show.
Everybody loves that show.
And the main girl, I'm like, why does she seem so familiar to me? And so she is exactly you remember is Emma from AIC.
Yeah.
They are like peas in the pod.
Oh,
Like
really?
she's giving off, yeah. And I'm like, these girls are like so similar. And so we might have her on the show one day. So just stay tuned.
Emma in Paris.
Emma in Paris. But yeah, that's been my Paris. I've been in Paris mode for the last week.
All right. Well, no French on this one. All right.
Yeah.
Keep it so I can understand you. Well, my friend, it's time to give them what they've been waiting for. Let's get into it. Well, there ain't nothing to it but to do it. Are you ready, my friend?
You better believe it. Let's get into all the everything, y'all.
All the everything, we've got it all. We've got it all, small, weird, or tall. So grab your snacks, sit back, don't stress. Cause Tim and Billy talk about the randomness. Information prone to UFOs will take you where the weirdness goes. It's two guys talking way too loud about stuff that makes no sense, but we're kinda proud. Welcome to the madness.
Well, welcome back to yet another amazing episode of All the Everything Podcast. My name is Tim Sawhook, and I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, Billy and Paris Parchman. Billy, we something
Oui.
something. How are you
Oui.
feeling today? You ready for
I'm
this?
great. I'm great.
We
I'm
should
great,
have
man.
got some French bread for this episode. That sounds
Oh.
really good. Some butter, salty
Mm.
butter, crusty bread. Yeah. Okay.
Come on now.
Apparently,
Oh.
neither of us have eaten anything. So,
Nope.
or if you have,
Nope.
sorry.
I haven't. I'm
And if you're out there and you want some warm, crusty bread with some salted butter, go get it. Treat yourself, as they say in the biz.
Carbs. Come on now. I need some carbs.
So, Mr. Paris Parchman, what are we talking about today, my friend?
Well, today we're exploring things that have happened in our lifetime. Things that make a memorable impression on our lives. And so we're calling this episode A Moment in Time. So basically, where were we when these things happened in this moment of time? So we're going to be talking about different events, different things, and our memories that are associated with those. And we would love to hear what your memories are as well. So kind of that's what we're going to be exploring today.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting episode for one, because there's a lot of cool topics to talk about and things to remember. And then this, Billy, we talked about before we started recording. Everybody remembers certain places they were and what
Mhm,
they were doing, who they were with, all those different things.
mhm,
So I think this is really going to resonate with the audience. And I hope,
mhm.
like you said, that we can hear from some of them and like maybe talk about where they were when these things happened. So
Yeah. And also, I want to just give a huge shout out to the Miss Leslie Sawhook for this wonderful idea. This was 100% her idea of an
yep.
episode, and Tim shot it to me, and I was like, you know what, that sounds awesome. I remember where I was on a lot of places, and so I'd
Yeah.
love to talk about that.
Yeah, so Billy, I'm glad you went first. I'll clean it up. Leslie, thank you so much. Because here's what happened. Billy said, "What are we talking about our next podcast?" And I was like, "You know what? I'm not available at the moment, but give me until tonight, and I'll have some great ideas." And I sat down at dinner that night with Leslie. I was like, "I got nothing. I got nothing."
No,
And
he
then
said, I have some great. He said, I have some great ideas. He was just buying some time.
yeah, I was. I thought I had some good ones, and it was not. But Leslie's like, "How about when we were here for this, that, and the other?" And we're like, "Oh, okay." I
Yeah,
put it to my good friend ChatGPT to give me some more ideas, and boom, the episode is born, and we're ready
yeah.
to go.
Let's rock it.
So, Billy, things to think about when we talk about this, and you don't have to say this literally for every single one, but the thing
Mhm.
is where you were, who you were with, and maybe how you felt, if you can remember
Yeah.
those three. Again, you don't have that same answer for all of them, but just to kind of
Mhm.
like a roundabout way.
Yeah.
And so, first, we're going to be talking about big world moments, because those are the things that really resonate with us
Mhm.
as we grow and things that happen in the world. And the very first one is one of the most powerful ones that we've experienced in a very, very, very long time. And that was like, do you remember where you were on 9/11? So,
Right.
Billy, I'll let you go ahead and start off, and then I'll go after
Mhm.
you.
Okay. Well, I was a freshman in college. This is 2001, September 11th, and my first class was a communication class. I was a communication minor in
Hmm.
college, and so I was going to Dr. Johnson's class. And so I sat down. We're getting ready to start the class, and my friend Joe came in the class, and he said, "Did y'all hear?" He's kind of talking to the whole class. This is right before the class started. He's like, "Did you
Hmm.
hear a plane hit the World Trade Center?"
Mm,
And I mean, just the room just fell silent. Like we didn't know
yeah.
anything, what was going on. We didn't know any details. We just knew that an airplane hit the World Trade Center.
Hmm.
And Dr. Johnson, like in tears and not even really knowing details, he prays over the class and he says, we're not going to meet today." And so he dismissed us. And so we head back. Um, I head back to our cottage because I lived in a cottage there on campus.
Okay.
And when I turn on the TV to kind of see what was going on, the second plane hit.
Mm,
And then that's kind of when you really knew this wasn't just a fluke airplane accident.
right.
And, that's the day that, the world changed.
Hmm.
Um, and they ended up canceling classes the rest of the day. I remember that. And then everybody, um, I went to the University of Mobile, and, that's it was at that time a small, it's not as small now, but a small like Baptist university. And so, we're meeting together, we're praying, just trying to figure out everything. And then, you have the other planes that hit. You have the
Hmm.
Pentagon and the other plane that went down in the field that the passengers crashed themselves so that it wouldn't hit another big target,
Right.
um, and stuff like that. And so, I mean, it, it just changed your whole world. But yeah, I remember Joe just coming in, Joe Kennedy coming in
Hmm.
and just telling everybody because he heard it on the radio on his way in, and then that was something I'll never forget.
Yeah.
So, and I think that and Tim will share his story here, but if you were alive in 2001, that's a core memory. So,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
mhm.
Absolutely. I mean, you hear this topic talked about a lot. Do you remember where you were at 9/11? And everybody, obviously everyone has a story, and it's very interesting and unique to hear people's takes on that. For me, I happened to take a day off of work because I wasn't feeling great, and so I was staying home with Luke, who has just been born in February 7th of 2001. So he
Right.
was a little guy, and I remember turning on the Today Show as I was like grabbing some breakfast and helping Luke with whatever. And I heard Katie Couric on the Today Show say, there's a report of a plane that hit the World Trade Center, and some lady had called in. She's like, "Yeah, there was a tire that fell into my backyard," and like, just talking about that, not knowing, like you said, what the scope of things were.
Right.
Um, and so they're showing like that little at that point looked like a smaller hole in the side of the building, and saying, we wonder if did somebody get sick? Did somebody what happened to the plane? Did it lose power? I wonder what happened. And at that time, I was sitting there watching the TV, and then I saw the second one hit live,
Mhm.
I think like
Mhm.
you did. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh. And I remember just like having full body chills.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there holding Luke so tight because you're like, is the whole like country under attack? Like, what is happening? Because at that point, nothing to the scope in our lives had ever happened. And
Mhm.
so I was kind of like the Paul Revere that day. I kept calling people. I called Leslie. She was a teacher at a different school district, and they didn't have, there wasn't smartphones that were bouncing
You're
off,
right.
news every
Mhm.
5 seconds. And I was like, just so you know, there was a World Trade Center hit, and then another plane just hit, and she was kind of scared and upset about what was going on. I think they eventually were able to maybe roll a TV in a little bit later because at that point the Pentagon got hit, and then you're like,
Right.
what is happening? Like, this is freaking
Mhm.
us out. That point when I called her, she was really freaked out. She heard that. And I think at that point she was able to talk to teachers or whatever about getting a TV in the room, and they were kind of watching after that. And I also called my best friend Matt. He worked at a company, and again, there's no smartphones or anything, and he didn't know. So I kind of told him, and then, he then told everybody else.
Right.
And it was just such um, a sad and like bewildered moment. Like you couldn't imagine what was going on.
Mhm.
Again, that first day, the initial day, we really don't know much, right? We just know
Exactly.
obviously this is a terrorist attack because of all the things they did in the other plane that went down to save other people. And it was just a scary unknown time. And I remember, and you probably do too, like the news after that was just so depressingly sad because all they did was showing the same footage over and over again, right?
Over and over and over again. Yes.
Oh my gosh, and then the rubble when the towers collapsed and all the
Mhm.
stuff that happened with that, and, and you just multiply everything, and yeah, it was just so I remember watching the news all night, with
Mhm.
Leslie got home and just being, so saddened by it, and then also I remember we had the TV on in our room at night, and I remember waking up, like, so depressed because the news was just on all night, and I think it's just that all that heaviness was just on us, um, and yeah, and it was just like that for weeks and months after that. It was
Oh,
always
yeah.
all the people who were looking for had missing signs everywhere, and it was just so horrible. But on that
Mhm.
day, I was home with Luke just by chance and was able to. I don't want to say I was able to experience it, but I was able to then at least warn other people, and because we didn't know if that was the end, right? And
Right.
yeah, it was just so scary and so sad, but
Mhm.
it's important to talk about to honor the people who didn't make it home that day, even though it's hard to
Absolutely.
talk about, and go back and feel our feelings from that time. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so yeah, and so like we said at the beginning, everybody knows where they're at on 9/11, unless you were like a baby or a little kid or something.
Right.
And that's what we want to hear, and we'll keep talking about this whole episode. We want to hear where you were at and how you felt, and maybe who you were with, and what was going on during that time. I think that's a good thing, and we want to build that community. So we would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, moving on to our next big one. When COVID shut down the world. So
Oh,
I'll go first on this one if you don't
go
mind
for
going
it.
back and forth.
Yeah. Nope. Yep. That sounds good, buddy.
So, when you first heard about COVID, you kind of heard about some random disease in China, right? It
Mhm.
was like a really bad, flu or bad strain of whatever that was making people really sick, and they were warning for them not to travel to the US, I think, at that point. And so at that point, we knew about it, but it really hadn't hit home necessarily because not everybody was sick around us. And I remember we went on a fam. Leslie didn't go. It was me and Evan and I'm trying to think who it was. Gabby, Danielle, Fox was there. All these people I'm listing off are people who work with us and are our friends, by the way. So
Yeah.
normal listeners won't have any idea. But I remember coming back from that. I felt totally fine. And then I got a phone call the next morning, and Evan's like, dude, I got COVID. I was like, oh. So I was like, man, I should go get a test. Because I told Leslie, and then like you hear COVID like at the very beginning, you're like, oh, screw, I'm done. I'm screwed,
Yeah.
So I went, got a test, and he's like, I'll call you in a few minutes once the test comes in. And he called and he's like, yeah, you're positive for COVID.
Right
And
at the beginning, like at the beginning of it?
right
Wow.
at the beginning. And so
Holy cow.
I tell Leslie this on the phone. She doesn't really immediately freak out, but Lauren's freaking out. Luke, who was supposed to go back to college because it was just right after the new year, I think college was going
Mhm.
back. And he refused to come in the house once we called him. He's like, I'm not coming in there. He ended up getting, I don't know if Leslie brought him stuff or whatever. He ended up getting all his clothes and everything. And he went and spent the next 3 days at Leslie's parents' house until he went back to school because he wanted no part of it. And
Right.
so at that point, I was like exiled to the basement here, where that
Yeah.
was like my containment zone. And I remember Leslie felt like I was like a prisoner. I remember her bringing dinner, putting it on the top step, and shutting the door, and I'd climb up there like some kind of crazy person. But yeah, I did get sick. Obviously, I turned out okay, but it's just a really, really bad, cold. You can't smell anything, taste anything, headaches, breathing stuff. It was just it was scary. It was really scary at the
Yeah.
time because they don't really knew what the outcome was. And thankfully, I'd been strong and in good shape and stuff and was healthy. I don't know
Mhm.
if that ever causes anything, but I didn't have a lot of breathing issues going in or stuff like that. So I was able to recover. It just took a little while. But yeah, so COVID happens and it happens to me real fast, right? And
Wow.
as COVID progressed, then and we're going to lead right down to the next question after this when I talked to Billy. But we started finding out because we own a travel agency. We're all in the travel world here, and we were getting news that all these places were shutting down, cruises were stopping.
Mhm.
And when we got the news finally that Disney closed, I remember Leslie literally falling to her knees in our front room of our house and just being like, "Oh gosh, we are screwed. Like this is bad, bad, bad." Not that we didn't think it was bad with everybody being sick, but just like for business and stuff.
Mhm.
And luckily, everything worked out. God took care of us during that time or whatever. But it was just such a scary time, and nobody knew when it was going to end, if it would ever end, if it was going to get worse and worse, and
Mhm.
all the things like that. But
Mhm.
we were here at the house because we weren't traveling because we couldn't really go anywhere. And then I remember seeing our senator Mike DeWine, our mayor, I don't know, not mayor, governor or whatever of Ohio, come on and be like, we're issuing a stay-at-home order. This means only go out for emergencies if you need food, blah 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 blah. Just stay home. And
Mhm.
that just floored us. Like what? Like you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you have to stay at home. And how long is this going to last, and all the different things that went with it. Because then you're also in grocery stores, things are now spaced out 10 feet apart, you're wearing masks
Mhm.
everywhere you go. It was just
Mhm.
such a crazy shakeup during that time. But yeah, I remember when the stay at home order, and I was like, well, staycation time, because I figured this would probably last like a week or so.
Yeah.
I was a little bit wrong on the timing of that. um but yeah, so I just remember it like we all just kind of hunkered down as a family and did what we had to do to kind of stay healthy at that point because I'd already had COVID. So it
Mhm.
was like, all right, I'm good to go. So anyhow, those were my two things when COVID shut down and when the first lockdown stay at home order was. So Billy, same two questions for you. Where were you at,
Yeah.
and how did you feel and stuff like that?
Yeah. And so I also was on a trip. I was at Disney World, and on this particular trip, it was a work trip. So
Yeah.
I was there with other travel agents, and this was the first trip that I ever started record. I had just joined TikTok, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, 2020, just joined TikTok. So, when I was on this trip, was the first TikTok I ever made. Was a Disney inspired TikTok.
Okay.
At the time, my name was Disney 365, y'all. And so, I filmed a ton of Disney content on that trip, and
Mhm.
with Gaston, and just different little scenarios and food, and just like all these different things. So I'm creating these TikToks, and I'm starting to like, oh, this is really cool. Like, kind of get into the whole TikTok thing. And
Right.
while we were there, I had before I left, I started hearing about the disease, and it's popping up in different places all over the world. I'm like, oh my gosh, you
Mhm.
know. But while I was there, it was like the first confirmed diagnosis of COVID in Florida, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
in, I'm hearing thousands of people around me and kind of things like that. Um, and so I get home, thankfully, no
Mhm.
COVID. And so shortly after that is when it just really started like wildfire across the
Yeah.
country, and it started getting really scary, really quickly. And so, kind of going through that, the lockdown happens, and there's a
Yeah.
run for toilet paper. You could not find toilet paper.
I forgot
I
to
don't
talk about toilet paper.
Oh my gosh, and, like, what is going on? And so, like, food and different things like that, and people are trying to figure out how to survive, and then, of course, my wife is a doctor, and
Mhm.
so she's on the front lines the entire time, right?
Wow.
She's
Yeah.
around people every single day. That she's a frontline worker, and I'm like terrified. And so they're trying to figure out protocols. This is before the vaccine, and like, how do we
Oh,
do
yeah.
this? How do we protect ourselves? How do we protect our staff? How do we do all these things? Because people have to have a doctor. You can't just close down the doctor. You can't just close down the grocery stores. You have
Yeah.
these frontline workers, and she's one of those. And so, I mean, she would come home um, every day and just strip down in the garage,
Oh,
um,
okay.
and then go straight to the shower when she got home every single day. Um, and so, just to try to prevent that. And so, by the grace of God, we at that point never, like when it was in the height and the danger and stuff like that. And we were, I lost a really close mentor of mine.
Mhm.
He was an evangelist that would travel around the country, and marathon runner, healthy, like never would have thought,
Oh,
and it just hit him. And when he passed away from it and stuff like that, and like it actually comes, like, hits your circle, right? You hear stories,
yeah.
horror stories across, and people, left and right and stuff like that. And um but when it actually hits your circle, it makes it real, and oh, terrifying.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out like food and stuff like that, and how do we support businesses like that. And like, we had
Exactly.
yeah, we had different restaurants that would prepare family meals. Like,
Mhm.
they would go in and they would prepare family, and we would go through the drive-through, and all masked up and stuff like that. And
Sure.
we would go home, and we just kind of like, they would give you heating instructions. I love those. Love, like, just being able to go and support them as well. Because like you were saying too, travel agent, our whole industry shut down, and so
Completely.
there
Yeah.
was there was a lot of stress with that, obviously, because you couldn't travel. There wasn't, should you travel? You couldn't travel,
Right.
um, and you shouldn't travel as well, um, in that time. So you're losing bookings, cancelings, and different things like that, and just it's like, um,
It was a nightmare time.
it was a nightmare. I'm like, and if you know anything about like travel agents and how we work, we don't get paid unless you travel, right? And
Right.
so we've done all this work to book things, and to do all the things to find the perfect vacations for people, but then we're having to work to cancel it, and then that means we don't get any money whatsoever. So we're doing double the
Yeah.
work, and that's just part of the life, though. And
Yeah, it was a
so
tough time then, for
it
sure.
was it was really, really, really rough, and things started opening back up, and people were trying to, figuring out how to live and different things like that. And we always told Chloe, this is, we told her that we would take her on the Mickey boat, right? Whenever
Oh
she
yeah.
got potty trained, right? And so she got potty trained, and um, she got potty trained, and we booked our trip. And of course, you don't book a trip like right immediately and go on it, right? And
Right.
so we had booked a cruise for mid-March 2020. The first cruise that was actually
Oh.
canceled because of COVID was our cruise. Her celebration, I'm potty trained. I could go to the kids club,
Oh
kind of
no.
Mickey boat. And so over the next few uh, while, I don't even know how long, we would book a cruise, it would get canceled. We would try to rebook, it would get canceled. We would rebook, it would get canceled. And so by the time she was able to go on her potty trained cruise,
Yeah.
her sister was actually potty trained and was able to go on her first cruise. And so
Yeah.
they both got to celebrate on the same cruise, even though she was
All right.
away,
All right.
you
Well,
know?
that's good though.
Yeah. But that cruise actually is when I actually got COVID for the first time on that cruise.
Oh, did you?
And,
Oh man.
and what was so scary though, too, is, you had to submit a COVID test, right? You
Yeah.
had to do that, but you couldn't submit a little kid's test until they had to swab them there at the port when it first
Yeah.
happened. And so we didn't know going, we had to fly to Florida. We
Right.
wouldn't know, even though we tested, her beforehand. So, but they were testing her the day of before she got on the ship, and she couldn't get on the ship until she had her approval, like the little kids. They took our approvals. And
Right.
what was so crazy was, she's clear, she's clean, we're all good. We're on the boat, and then I guess as you get a big group of people together, I caught COVID. I got it
Yeah.
first, but I didn't know it until when I got home after I had flown home, got
Mhm.
home, and I'm sitting here at the house, like literally maybe an hour. I'm like, oh, gosh, I don't really feel well. I had felt
Oh
fine up until that
no.
point. And then I took a test, and then, yep. And so I quarantined myself in the back room. And of course, it slowly hit the house later. Thankfully, it
Yeah.
wasn't a bad case. Praise the
Yeah.
Lord.
Thankfully. Yeah.
But we had made it all the way through up until that point when things started opening up and people were traveling again. So it was a while afterwards, but it
Right.
was a mess, obviously.
Let me just say, I know we've gone over for the topic, but I wanted to say that when Disney started opening back up, we went on cruises. We think we went on our
Yeah.
maybe 2 different ones. And the thing was, it didn't matter what you had before, they would swab everybody
Mm-hmm.
at the port as soon as you got there. And you'd have to sit there as a family and hope to God
Hope
everybody
nobody.
got through, not just one person. And I
100%.
would I would, like, overly freak out because I have really bad anxiety, and I'd be worked
Mm-hmm.
up into almost like a panic attack because I'm like, "What if everyone else is good but me? And what if I screw
Yep.
everything up?" And I was, like, so nervous. I remember almost fainting on, like, the Uber ride over. I was so, like,
Oh my gosh.
destroyed with anxiety and stuff, but it always worked out, but you had to sit there and wait for your name to come on a TV screen.
Yep. Yep.
And then there were some people you'd see they got the bad thing, and they had to walk away with their luggage. It was so
It was
sad and like, so it wasn't a lot of excitement getting to the ship because you were like, "Oh god, what please God, don't let this happen to our
Mhm.
family going on the ship." So it was crazy. It was absolutely
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But
Jeez Louise.
whoo! All right.
2 heavy hitters right there.
Back to back, baby.
Right, that's right.
All right. So we've got a lot of heavy stuff out of the way today, Billy.
Yeah.
So I think we should space it out because this is going to be a part 1 of 2.
Yep.
We didn't really talk about the beginning because we didn't realize how much stuff we had to share. So now knowing that, just put you guys right here in the middle of the episode. This is a part 1. So we're going to share some more things, and we're going to have more things for you next week. And again, we really want to know where you stand and land on some of these things.
Mhm.
All right, Billy. So you're up first here. The question is, Do you remember, or when did you know rather that Michelle was the one?
Oh, oh my gosh. Okay, so she's my hot or not, our little meet cute. She's my hot or not girlfriend, right?
Yep. Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, website back in the early 2000s, hotornot.com. You put your picture on there. You rank people if they're hot or not, 1 to 10. It's very, it's, if you have self esteem issues, would not recommend.
People just tear you apart.
But they also had a thing on there where they said, okay, if you want, you can click, I want to meet you. And so I got a notification she wanted to meet me, so I paid the $5 and got a membership so I could communicate with her and got her email, and the rest is history. So,
Mm.
we
Now, let's
started
be
dating.
clear. The hot
Yeah.
or not thing wasn't like one of the things now where it's like meet local singles to hook up tonight.
Right.
It was more of a
Mhm.
just a rating system like that.
Yep.
Just so you know, Billy's not a man whore. Well, maybe he
That's
is,
right.
but
Maybe I was, not anymore.
I've been saved by the blood.
That's right.
Okay, sorry. All right, go on. So, hot or not, you guys met up.
Yeah. Yep. We met up. First date. We went and saw Elf. We met up. Okay, so we met up in Prattville, Alabama. It was like a 2-hour drive, maybe an hour and a half for her. So we met up at Prattville. We went and saw Elf. We met at the Waffle House first, so we had like a dinner at the Waffle House because I was like, if she's crazy, there's going to be some kind of Waffle House member there that can protect me, you know.
Yeah.
And so met at the Waffle House. We did dinner there, and then we went and saw Elf. And as we're watching the movie, you know, I'd kind of do the little corny, "Hey, can I hold your hand?" And she's like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh snap!"
Yeah.
And
Well, consent
then
matters, right?
that's right, that's right. And so I held her hand during the movie. It was real sweet. You know, we had already started talking for a while on the phone, you know, because we were internet people. And so, you know, we already had that kind of foundation, like, you
Yeah.
know, even though it was the first time we were seeing each other in person, we already had that relationships already established and stuff. And so, um, you know, we watched
I have
the
a
movie.
backup question though. I have one question to
Yeah,
go back on. Were
go
both of
for it.
your pictures accurate of how you both looked at
They
the time?
100%,
Okay.
100%. Yeah. The only difference was I had more hair because my
Oh, okay.
picture, I was in a crew cut because it was summer. It was like from summer camp and stuff, and I had more hair at that point. Not like a
Okay.
whole lot much, but that was the only difference. She looked identical to her picture. Um,
I was just
and
curious because
then
you always hear stories about that, like
yeah,
this
no
person
catfish.
didn't look
Yeah,
anything. Yeah.
it was 100% us and stuff like that. So it was like,
Okay.
heck yeah. And so yeah, we did have our first kiss that night. It was real romantic.
Oh,
We went to Steak and Shake and had some steak, not steaks, some shakes.
you ain't getting steak and shake. I'm
Yep,
just
yep,
gonna break that news to you right now.
yep, yep. Nope. Yeah, we had some shakes and stuff. Great first date, fantastic. And so, you know, we met up a couple more times before she came. Her and one of her friends came to my house in Mississippi over Christmas break. I had just gotten home from Tokyo. I went on a mission trip to Japan, and uh, so I just got home, and then before school started back, she came to visit me at my house. So her and her friend stayed at my house. Trey came and stayed with us too because we were trying to hook him up with uh, her roommate, and
It always goes really well. Yeah.
right. And so, you know, we did all the fun touristy kind of things. You know, I live close to New Orleans. We went to New Orleans. We went to a hockey game and went ice skating afterwards. We went to the beach, and then at the
Nice.
beach, when we went to the beach, that's the night that I was like, I'm gonna make this official and ask her to be my official girlfriend. I had went to the jewelry store and bought her a really nice, not engagement ring, but a
Yeah.
really nice promise ring that had like her birthstones in it. Um, so it was, I mean, it was a real ring. It was really nice. But I just remember that night we went to the beach. Oh, before we went to the beach, we went to Lambert's. And if you know,
Oh,
if
okay.
you've ever heard of the famous Lambert's, they throw rolls at you.
Yeah.
So, and so they bring all the fixins and the vegetables to and they just plop it down on the paper towel or a plate or whatever. It's like just some old good country cooking. It's really fun place. So we went there and had dinner, and then we went to the beach. But the thing about Lambert's is they give you these big, huge mugs to drink, like
Okay.
huge mugs. And so while we're at the beach, Michelle said that she's never had to pee so bad in her entire life. And
Because
so
of big old jugs.
yes, yes. And
Got
so
it.
I had this like I'm like trying to be all romantic. Will you be my girlfriend? And all she can really think about is I'm about to pee my pants, like legitimately. I'm about to pee on this beach in front of this guy, like there's not any other options. And so that was
That's
always a
so
funny story.
funny.
She did say yes, but she said yes quickly. And then we found her a restroom as soon as possible. And so then we were able to kind of celebrate after
That's
the
awesome.
emergency. So that was the moment there, and it's been a beautiful history ever since. How
Nice.
about
I
you?
love it. I love it. Well, I've shared this before about how Leslie and I met on a different podcast, but I'll still give you a brief rundown. So Leslie, and everybody always judges me on this first sentence. Leslie was dating one of my best friends.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
I know, but hold on, hold on. And so, I had only knew her through them, and every once in a while we hung out together, but not constantly, where I really even knew much about her. Um, but anyhow, long story short, he was at a basketball game with us because he used to play basketball after church on Sunday nights at the YMCA, and we all played. And then something happened where he got hit. I think he told Leslie that I hit him with my elbow. I don't know if that's true or not, but um, he was starting to spit up blood. So he's like, "I'm going to go to the emergency
Gosh.
room." Well, what happened is when he was born with a little tiny hole in his heart, and they patched it.
Sure.
You know about these things, Billy.
I do. Yep.
Um, and no problems at all. Well, that patch had burst on his heart.
Oh gosh.
So
Oh
as
god.
he's sitting there, I think he jumped up or something and like banged on a table, and then he was just pretty much died right there. And they took him into a room, and it was so sad. And Leslie tells her part of the story about going and have to say goodbye to him. And these, like, they had dated for like 5-6 years all through high school, and they were in college, and like it was gonna happen. Like he was gonna marry her. Like they were gonna get married for sure. And you would never even doubt it. And now she's lost all this, right? And so, he being one of my best friends, and it was so sad. And so when we were at the funeral, I knew that they talked every single night, like religiously on the phone. And I told her, I said, listen, if you ever want to talk, you can give me a call. And it wasn't in like a sleazy way or anything like that. It was just like, I know you guys talked all the time. If you want to talk, give me a call sometime, no problem. And so I think that night, the next night, maybe that night or next night, she called me, and I was like, okay. And we just talked, and just how everybody was feeling about everything, and just getting to know each other a little bit, and talking about memories with Jeff was his name. And then that started to grow a little bit, because we talked the next night, and we talked for a long time, and then the next night and the next night. And to be fair, just putting it out there, I did have a girlfriend at the time that I'd been with for like over a year or so. And I was like, nothing like happened,
Mhm.
because of that. But it got to the point where I started to fall for Leslie. When we'd have, and then the conversations would get more in depth, like more intense. Like, tell me about
Mhm.
this, and what did you do for this, and what do you want to do, and kind of finding out like more deeper things about each other. And we started to like really click that way. And then I started to fall for her hardcore. Like we just, we came together through grief, right?
Mhm.
But we didn't get together because of grief. But
Mhm.
that's how we got to know each other and things like that. And I really just start to fall for her. And I still had this girlfriend. And I remember talking to one of my other friends at the time, and I'm like, I've been dating her, and now I really have these feelings. I feel like I have to go for it for some reason. And you have to know me, like I was Mr. Loverboy back in the day, like Mr. Romantic, and I never broke up with anybody. People had broken up with me, but I
Right.
never like I was like in it. And so he was like, "Listen, if you feel like this is what you do, then you have to break up with, I'm not saying her name, and go try this thing with Leslie." And so I did. I had to break up with my girlfriend who didn't do anything wrong. It was so hard and so sad, and I felt so bad for her. but I just knew that I had like this pull on my heart, like bigger than
Mhm.
ever, to be with Leslie. And so that's what happened. That's when I knew at that point, like I had fallen for this girl to the point where I broke up with somebody who didn't do anything wrong. And we had
Mhm.
been together for a while. It was just like God's tug at the heart to make it feel good. And so from there, it wasn't like instantly it was like it was on, right? We started dating each other more and doing fun things together. And I remember we went up to see we were up to Miami to see a basketball game or something, and I had rode up with her, and we were sitting in the car, and you could feel the chemistry, like something was gonna happen. And it was just like just kind of awkwardly waiting, and all of a sudden she just aggressively kissed me like really
Oh,
fast in
snap.
my face, and we banged teeth.
Oh, ow. Oh,
Yeah, and
gross.
she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry."
It's a terrible feeling.
But that was her first kiss, and I'll never forget it because my teeth are still a little jacked up from that moment. That's not true, but yeah, and so that at that moment, I had known, leading up to once I kind of had cut the other person off, where I had a little more free will to go after and pursue her,
Mhm.
and be more in depth about the relationship. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
when I knew I fell for her hard, and then we got engaged about a year after, and got married not too long after that. So it was
You know
weird because it was a. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I've never heard this story before, so this is news to me.
Oh, you've never heard this whole story?
I've
That's
never
pretty
heard
cool.
this story. It must have been on the other podcast.
Oh, that could be one of the many other podcasts. Um, yeah, it was sad. It was crazy because my parents, like my dad's a pastor,
Mhm.
and Jeff went to our church. His parents went to the church, and we were like super tight families. Like we do Thanksgivings together,
Oh my
and like
gosh, yeah.
big sporting events. We'd all get together and all kinds of stuff like that. And so I knew Jeff through them. Jeff was one of my best friends growing up, and his parents were like my parents and vice versa. And so now their son dies, right?
Mhm.
And now the girlfriend of their son is now dating me.
Yeah.
But they were very super supportive of it, extremely supportive even. But that was kind of a hard thing to navigate because it's like
Sure.
now in during they came to our wedding, they were around for years. Unfortunately, the mom had passed away a couple years ago from cancer. But they were around for everything. They were in our wedding, and they saw our kids grow up. And I thought that might be a weird dynamic of seeing like the kids that could have been if it was with Jeff
Mhm.
and Leslie instead of me and Leslie. You know what I mean?
Right. Mhm.
Even though nothing bad happened and no one said anything to us, it just felt like a weird dynamic to get around at first
Sure.
because
Sure.
we all know each other really well, and Leslie knows them very well from a different relationship because she was dating their son for such a long time.
Right.
Um, but Jeff was an insane Yankees fan, and he's the one who got me to become a Yankees fan when I was a little boy.
Yeah.
When we first met and started playing around, so I got into the Yankees, which I'm obsessed with,
You are.
and all because of him. So that is our story. There's more details to it, and Leslie brings her heart to
Her
the
side of
story.
the story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but again, every time I try to tell it, everyone's like, "How'd you guys meet?" And it's always like we look at each other like, "All right,
Ugh.
buckle up, sunshine. We
Buckle
got
up. I wasn't even expecting that. I was like, "Oh, snap."
Yeah, it was strange. So anytime you start off with a story, well, she was dating my best friend, and everyone's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Just wait, let me
Just
finish.
give a second.
Get breathe for a second, people. Don't judge me." And then then they'd be like, "Oh, okay, okay."
Oh,
So that's why I have a hard time starting those stories sometimes
sure,
because of like
sure.
the judgment. The judgment is too much.
The bro code, man, the bro code. Oh, wait, you're good. You're good.
Uh,
Oh,
um,
god.
so that was a good story. I like your story,
Yeah.
Billy. Yeah. Let's talk about something else a little lighter.
Okay.
How did you feel? Do you remember when you found out that you got your first job? Just your first job, period.
Okay. Yep. You want me to go first? You wanna go first on this
Yeah,
one?
you're up. I think you're.
I'm up.
Am
It's
I
my
up?
turn.
Am I up first? No, I just went last, didn't
Doesn't
I?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. But
doesn't matter. Does not matter.
just go, Billy. Just go.
Okay. Well, my first job, I was 12 years old. Yeah, child labor laws, right? Um, there was a little plant nursery. If you ever go back and listen to our
Oh,
worst jobs episode.
yes,
That's
I
where I
remember this
started.
now.
Yeah, our neighbor, we lived in the country and there was plant nurseries, and our neighbor owned one of them that was
Yeah.
literally like right behind my house. And so, yeah, and so my friends had gotten a job there before I did, and I guess they needed extra help, so they sent one of the guys down on his bike, and they were like, "Hey, you want to work today?" And I think I made like $3.50 an hour cash. Um, but as a 12-year-old, and you work a few hours, you were able to go. I was able to use that money and save it up and go buy some Oakleys or some shoes or whatever. It was great, and it was
Oh,
probably good
yeah.
exercise for me at the time as well. So, but it was a hard job. It was a back busting job, especially if you have back issues, because you're bent over, you're putting plants down, you're planting, potting plants and all these other things like that.
Yeah.
And it was not, I would not do it again. God bless those that do, because I know it's important for
It is
people to have
important,
plants.
and I have to say, though, you have to go back to the episode and hear Billy describe it in depth because it's pretty funny, and it is awful.
It's
Um,
horrible.
so go back and watch or listen or watch our top 5 worst jobs ever.
Oh
It's a
gosh.
pretty funny episode,
That
actually.
one is a good episode. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. But yep, that's it.
Um,
How about you?
well, I remember to be like, we talked about it in those things. I had a bunch of little side neighborhood jobs and things I did, cutting grass and things. But my first official job, when I was able to turn 15 and get your worker's permit,
Hmm.
and because I live in Ohio and that's the way it was here, is I worked at Little Caesars Pizza. And that
Pizza,
was my
pizza.
first job. Oh yeah. And that was like a dream job because at 15, I was like, you're freaking eat anything as a teenage boy and you don't gain
Yep.
any weight at all. Your
Yeah. Right.
metabolism's like insane. So working there, I remember thinking like, oh, because they let you take free pizza home and crazy
Hmm.
bread and all the stuff that comes with it there. It's so good. But yeah, I worked there. That was my first job for a couple years, it just slinging pizza and
Hmm.
changing limes, pizza at a time. But yeah, I remember I was so excited because like, all right, I'm gonna make some money for myself finally. That's like an official paycheck.
Hmm.
And when I started, the minimum wage was. You want to guess?
525. 475.
Which one?
475.
You're close. It was actually $4.25 an hour.
Dang it. Okay.
Um, yeah, so wasn't making major money, but when you don't have bills and everything to pay for, and you're just making money on
Exactly.
it's a good
Hmm.
feeling, yeah. So I love my first job. I remember I was really nervous applying for it, and but that job led me meeting to another girlfriend I dated for a long time because it's weird because you start meeting people that you don't know. They're not
Exactly. Yep.
from your school necessarily. They might be from a different school and people you never met. So that was a cool way to. It sounds like a total weirdo. I'm like, what a good way to meet girls. That wasn't the reason I ordered there. I started there. It was more for the pizza and seemed
And the
like a
money.
in the money, 425 rolling deep back in
Woo.
the day. And pizzaing it for a while. And that led to my
That's
rest
too
of
bad.
my pizza career. I worked at a lot of pizza places after that,
Yep.
growing up. But we'll talk about that some other time. So yeah, that was my first job. But I was super excited. And
Cool.
and my family was excited because there was a lot of us and I got to bring home free pizza. So everybody liked me there for a little bit.
Right.
I feel like they were just using me, but still I think yes. Billy, last one before we go. And then we're gonna
Okay.
pick up. I got a bunch of other fun ones and some other heavier ones to go over on our part 2. So stay tuned for
Yep.
that. But Billy, talk about, and this was just recently, what you felt and what you think when you think back to it when we were talking about starting this podcast.
Oh, great question. Do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Well, we had just gotten home from Puerto Vallarta,
Yep.
and we had an amazing trip down there. Beautiful. Um, Tim and Leslie rented us a yacht. We went out on a yacht, had a fantastic day. You
I'm on a
know,
boat.
I'm on a boat, and we actually were blaring that as we. I bet they were
Yes,
like
you were.
those dang Americans, man. I'm on a boat. I'm
I'm
on a
on a
boat.
boat, mother. Yeah. All right.
And so yeah, I get a phone call after I get home, and Tim was like, "Hey, man, there's something I've just been thinking about. It's been on my heart for a while, and something I've really been wanting to do for a long time. And I would love for you to come along and do this with me. And so he kind of pitched the idea of that, and I was like, that sounds amazing, man. That sounds awesome. I would love to do that. Because
Now, to be honest though, on the phone call, I did give a pause for a second. Like I think he did it for just a moment, like make me sweat. I was like, oh God, what's he gonna say? And then my head spirals out of control, and you're like, yeah, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, man. But I always love the creative stuff and doing social media stuff, and I do like editing, and I love all that kind of stuff. And so going through all that and being able to apply it to this and just kind of grow in that, I guess if you go back and watch our first episode to now, hopefully we've come a long way, and then hopefully we'll 70 more episodes down the road be even more better is what I was about to say. Even better. But yeah, that's kind of where it all began, as far as the podcast. And we shot out for a October 31st in our urban legend, and we put a lot of work into that one. And I remember, because it's just me and Tim talking to a camera right now, right? But I was so nervous. I was just like, like the first time we were recording, I'm like, oh my God, I was getting so like, it gets more natural over time and stuff like that.
Well, because I think during the time you start dreaming it, right? Like now we're doing this thing. Like, how can we make this the biggest and best thing ever? And you don't know what to expect right out of the gates. And then I'm trying to think what else we happened during that time frame. Let me ask you this question: when that happened, and what was Michelle's response when you first told her about it?
Well, she knows that there's already a lot on my plate, right? Obviously being full-time dad, and then have my job as a travel agent. And at that time I was really heavy into my weight loss journey. As I still am. Like this morning, for example, I got up early and I went and got my walk in before recording this. And so
nicely done.
You still have to, thank you. You still have to prioritize and get the work done and stuff like that. And so she didn't want me to take on too much. And I was like, I think it's fine. If it's too much, then we'll just have that conversation. And thankfully it hasn't been. So that's been great. And she's been supportive, 100%. But yeah, that's kind of where,
okay.
She just didn't want me to to start sucking it up at other things, especially being a dad, which this hasn't. The girls have loved being on the podcast, and so they're watching YouTube stuff, and whenever one of our videos comes up, they get so excited and start screaming and stuff. You're on TV.
Better believe it.
So, yep.
I mean, some of my stories similar. Like this idea I had for a podcast, I originally had the idea, All the Everything podcast, since years ago, because I thought, how fun would it be to do a podcast where it's not just one niche, where you could just talk about whatever you wanted and had fun with it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to do it by myself, because prior to this, I'd done a bunch of podcasts, and so I was very comfortable podcasting. But I had done everything by myself. It was always me doing the thing and getting the guests and doing the recording, doing the editing. And you just don't get a chance to share the joy with anybody else. Not that Leslie didn't have any joy in my other podcast, but it was just, having a partner to do it with. And prior to this, Billy had been on some of the other podcasts that we hosted for our company on the roundtable. And he always said how much he loved podcasting and doing it. So when I thought about approaching him, I'm like, Billy's the guy, he's got a good personality. He knows how to be in front of the camera, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know all the skills he had going in, but now thank God he has all the skills. So we actually look professional. I appreciate that, Billy.
Yeah.
But, so pitching that to him, and then we kind of talked about, we went through like several different names.
Oh my gosh.
What were some of the names we had pitched? I think you had pitched. Oh, you pitched Billy and Tim's Great Adventure, or kind of like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
That's right. Yeah, I was trying to go off of Bill and Ted.
Yes.
That's right. I was going off of Bill and Ted. Yep, 100%. I remember that now. Yeah.
Excellent podcast, and I was like, oh, that would be cool. And then we went through a bunch of stuff that just didn't make any sense. And I'm like, what about All the Everything podcast? It's kind of the one I thought about, and then we kind of settled on it. Billy wanted to fight me. We went to court over it, but we're good now. We didn't go to court, but we decided on the name, and then the biggest thing was I was telling him different stuff. I'm like, so for the podcast, you always like need to have some kind of introduction music.
Oh yeah,
And
for sure.
there's this website where it's like royalty free. You have to pay to be on the website, but they have all kinds of different genres of stuff. And I asked Billy, if you have a chance, listen. If you have a chance, listen to some of the music on there that made you think. And I think you did it for like what, a day straight of listening to all these songs.
Oh no, it was multiple days and multiple hours.
Going through all the because it's like, because you could pick, like, I want a guy on a banjo who does acoustic, and then he does this, and it's happy upbeat or whatever. And he's like, Tim, I'm ready to lose it. I can't listen to any more of these songs. They all sound the same. They're driving me nuts. And that's when I think in that car ride, actually, we started singing out loud to each other, like we normally do when we riff off each other about, like, this is our podcast. Welcome to the or like, we should just have our own song. And that's what that was kind of born out of that. And Billy started working on the background of that to create the theme song that you guys hear now. There was just so much to it. And then talking about, I asked you what Michelle thought. So I asked Leslie. And so Leslie knows I've done a lot of the podcast before, and she knows that Tim has lots of ideas all the time. And she's the one to always rein me in and keep focused, because, we also run this big company as well and have our own life and everything we've got to do with that. So she was very, and this is not anything negative, Leslie, by the way, but she was like, make sure this doesn't affect your other work. And, what are you going to do with it? Like, what are the costs involved? And, and she's like, and she was very specific. She goes, okay, if you're going to do this, you guys have to be consistent. You can't miss any weeks. You have to do it. I was like, oh, okay. Because my other podcasts, I had some times where I dropped off and then I came back and blah, blah, blah. But that was very important to Billy and I from the very beginning, to make sure if we were going to do this, it would be consistent. Every Thursday, you guys would have something to listen to. Maybe sometimes they're better than the others. That's up to you. We think all of these are our little babies, and we love them all equally. But don't come for us, because it will hurt our feelings. But yeah, that was kind of like the discussion about how we felt and how we had so many other discussions about things too. If you look at our logo, we've talked about logo episodes before. We came up with different topics we like and the things that would be on the logo, and making the logo, all the different things, all these little things that nobody knows about, and who you're going to host it through, and what's it look like, So it was fun. It was exciting, it was exciting to start something new. And, here we are over a year later, episode 70, killing it. And, we're doing really well with our downloads and stuff, and we're just having fun. And, I figure, like, if God blesses this time we have for it, then it will go great. If something goes sideways and he shuts it down, then he will. But right, for the time being, we're in it. We're giving it our best, and I'm having a great time.
Heck yeah. And this episode will be out on Thursday morning, and so it will be ready. And we won't miss one. I mean, I'm going to be editing as soon as we get off and get done recording. But it will be done.
Yes, it will.
For you all.
So, like Billy said at the beginning, I said at the beginning, we want to hear where you were with some of these big moments. We can't have you be in our personal moments because we don't know those. But the big juggernaut things we talked about at the very beginning, we want to know where you were at, how you felt. Were you scared, terrified? Like, did you know somebody personally who were involved in those things? We would love to hear from you on that. And Billy, where can they communicate with us? How can we get them to be part of the story here?
Yeah. Well, head over to facebook.com and type in All the Everything Podcast. You'll see our logo that we worked really hard on. It was an adventure in itself. And then you'll see our faces. But yeah, just do a post or interact with one of the posts. We post throughout the week. Based off the topics that we have previously talked about, or the episode that's out now. Comment on those. Join the conversation. Go to Instagram. We're there as well. TikTok. And, of course, you can watch this whole episode on YouTube and interact there. We have shorts and the full episode right there. So,
and we have video of Billy in his shorts. So it all comes together.
It does. Just for you.
Thank you for that. So I hope you guys enjoyed part 1. Come back next week for part 2 because we still have a ton of things to talk about, and we won't always just be about our lives. Some things that you can relate to as well. So again, thank you for being here today, and we can't wait to see you next time for another amazing episode of All the Everything Podcast. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.